Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Show Studio. Today we're going to discuss Burberry, and my head-to-head today will be with
Colin McDowell, who is me. Thank you.
And me, it's Mimma Viglezio. Hello, Colin.
Hello, Mimma, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
Well, I'm looking forward very much to seeing the Burberry show again, because I saw it as it was happening, but it's always very interesting to see it on the screen.
Yeah, I could see you because I was one of those that saw it live streamed.
Right.
And we could see you in the video. And it was very funny because everybody was there with their phone doing something, and there's Colin without a phone, because you don't have a smartphone, I guess.
No, I do not.
And watching the show, so it was very refreshing. So I know you were concentrated, and
I was actually, yes.
it will be very interesting to know about the actual atmosphere there, and we'll get into there when we will see the images of the show. But I wanted to start talking about Burberry for a few minutes, and about the fact that this was, I guess, the second show where Christopher Bailey is Chief Creative Officer and CEO, which, as you know, is very rare. It's probably never happened in that real way before, or it happens in startups, little companies, you know, this is a multi-billion company. So, you know, usually you have a CEO who's very busy 24 hours a day, a creative director who's very busy 24 hours a day, and he does it both.
Well, it's not so unusual, actually, Mimma. What is unusual is that he's leapt the barrier between being a designer and a CEO. But, I mean, Armani started, he was his own business. He and his boyfriend then, who unfortunately died very young, Bill Blass started that way, Ralph Lauren started that way. So it's not such a great surprise that he's doing both jobs.
Well, you said started, though.
Well, they've continued it.
Yeah, but Armani, you know, I mean, his boyfriend who died, what was his name? Giorgio
Guidotti, I think, yes.
Was actually the CEO. I'm thinking Valentino and Giammetti, I'm thinking Saint Laurent and Berger, you know, it's...
That's a different thing, that's a sort of partnership.
But here we're talking about Angela Arendt and Christopher Bailey that I think were so successful because of their relationship. I've seen many companies having problems because the creative director and the CEO would barely talk to each other.
Yeah, well, that's terrible. That's a disaster.
Well, I don't want to mention names, but I've
we all
seen
know them.
Many companies. And I always thought that the professional relationship between Angela and Christopher made Burberry what it had become. And now suddenly, after that, he is both. And we're talking multi-billion company.
Do you know him? Have you ever met him?
Well, I never met him personally.
Well, I know him quite well, and he's a
very
organized person. But I would like to take you back a little. The person who made Burberry and who made Christopher
Rosemary Bravo.
was Rosemary Bravo. She was the one who set the master plan and had the courage to take him away. He was with Tom Ford.
I remember.
And Tom tried very hard to keep him. You know, Christopher at that time had a very, very nice partner who actually died.
I know.
But Christopher told me that Tom said, you can live wherever you like. If you want to live in New York, live in New York. If you want to live in London, live in London. It doesn't matter, but I want you to stay. But he said, no, it's time for me to go. And he went.
And I think it was the best decision of his life.
Of course. And he and Rosemary Bravo were really almost like mother and son. She was marvellous with him. She is a marvellous woman. I saw her actually in this summer when I was in New York. I went out to the Hamptons to see her. Still as beautiful as ever, totally unchanged.
She's chairing some boards.
She's doing various little things.
Okay.
Yes,
well, she's one of the legends for me because I think she's one of the executives who understood that you need to create the relationship with your chief creative officer. But I also was, and I need to say this, I also was 1 year ago when that was announced, I was a pundit for, I think, the FT or New York Times. They asked me what I thought because I'd worked with designers a lot, and I was against it. I was dubious. I was saying, I don't think it's possible. You know, often someone who needs to create, they don't want to look at the bottom line. Sometimes that pollute your creative process, etc., etc. But then I heard Christopher in a conference call, his first conference call where he was giving results. I was flabbergasted. the guy speaks like he's done that all his life, and then he puts together shows, and then he talks to his fans and audience via Skype or whatever, Twitter, and he's amazing in a t-shirt. And then I think he's the most incredible Renaissance man in the industry.
Well, I don't think he's entirely Renaissance, but as far as fashion is concerned, he's very good. But you, of course, won't know this, and a lot of the people who are with us this afternoon won't know this, but Christopher is a Yorkshireman. And Yorkshiremen are Yorkshire people are exceedingly strong, exceedingly focused, and exceedingly good with money. They are known for these things.
Okay.
And Christopher is the sort of person, if he takes it over, he will take it over with no fears, because if he had any fears, he wouldn't do it. When he took it over...
But the language of finance, you should have heard him. I mean,
of course, but he's a clever boy. He's a clever guy.
The CEO of General Electric.
Yeah, he's probably cleverer than the CEO of General Electric.
I don't know who that is.
If the truth were known, I don't even know who it is.
But so, you know, and someone said publicly, so I read it somewhere, after the first show where he was also CEO, they said, you can already see it, that he's losing it. And I thought, well, I mean, exactly.
There are always people who say that.
So, notwithstanding if we liked it or not, and I think he's doing an amazing job. I studied a little bit this morning, and Burberry is doing well. It's in a healthy place, and you know, 1 year on, the result starts being his. They still have a very, very full agenda with a lot of strategy. You know, they're buying back all the licensing. They're doing a lot of things, and there he is, smiling, sending emails to the press before they arrive, welcoming them, and you know, telling them about the title of the show. And he's so personable. I think he's really like that.
That's a good word.
He's so personable with everybody.
It isn't put on. It isn't put on. It's
I don't think you can.
No, it's what he is. It really is.
So do you think that's you know, talent, or it's important in this industry where people think that they're more important when they detach from everybody?
No, I think there are two things which are important. One is to be able to design well, and the other is to make money out of it. I think that I've known some very disagreeable designers, and so have you. And I'm sure you have met some very, very disagreeable CEOs. He's just lucky because he ticks all the boxes. He's a one-off, absolutely a one-off. He ticks all of the boxes, and he does so with authority. Not in a bullying way, not walking in saying, I'm the CEO or whatever. He's just got natural authority.
Well, he's driving the whole house.
Absolutely. Whenever I go to see him, it's usually for something that we both think is quite important. We spend at least the first 25 minutes talking about something else.
25 minutes, it's a lot of time.
He gives me a lot of time. And his secretary keeps coming in, his PA, saying, you know, there's someone waiting. And it's a bit rude of him, I suppose, but he says, yes, we'll be there in a minute. You know. And it's great for me because by the time we've got through all of the talk about Yorkshire and architecture, and he's very interested in mid-20th century and early 20th century English paintings, as indeed I am. He collects them, so do I, but he has rather more money to buy the ones that I would like to have. And so that's the way we have, and he just sits there, you know, he's got, as you say, he's just in a shirt and he's like this and talking and everything.
Well, I believe that I'm not impressed by normality in big people because I'm always thinking, why shouldn't one be normal just because they're successful? And so I absolutely like it. But unfortunately, we know that in this industry, there was a time where people had different lifts. You couldn't look at them in their eyes and this kind of thing. I think what's very refreshing with him, I'd never met him really, but once we were introduced in an event and he was very nice and commenting on my dress, which wasn't a Burberry, but I mean, so he's very normal and it's very approachable, and even physically, you know, his physicality, his way of dressing, his way of smiling.
He's like a schoolboy, the way he moves around.
You must know that better than me. He has become a father recently, a year ago. So,
yes.
And someone who works very close to him, whom I know well, said to me, we travel a lot, but every Friday evening, we come back home because he's also a father. So it's like, wow, you know, there is an ethic, you know, there is also, I'm a father, I don't need to work on a Saturday, on a Sunday. I can do it 5 days a week if I'm efficient. And another thing before, again, letting you talk, that I was impressed about, apparently once a year, he goes to Silicon Valley and he sits with people from there that have created things, invented things, to be taught and updated and advised on everything digital.
Really?
And I think that is so humbling, because those big people in the industry, very often they think they know better, they think they have only to teach, they think they don't need. And he goes there every year and sit with people and say, teach me. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, what is marvellous is he doesn't send a minion, a go-between. He goes himself. He could easily send one of his people and just say, get to know all about it. But he wants to know himself.
And that's fun, and it takes time again.
Talking of his weekends, years ago he told me that he and the man who's now his husband, who was his boyfriend at that time, used to go up in his little mini up to Yorkshire, and the first thing they did when they got there was go into the pub, the local pub. And I said, have you kept up with your friends from school? And he said, my friends today are all the people who I was at school with. Now, how many designers can
So he
say
kept
that?
all his old friends.
And I said, what about in Yorkshire? I said, what about Sunday? And he said, oh, well, that was Saturday night. I said, what do you do on Sunday? He said, we take the dogs for a walk or something. Then we go to my mother's for a typical northern roast dinner, because it's my job to make the Yorkshire pudding.
Exactly.
Can you imagine the man who produces these fabulous clothes, sitting there stirring whatever it is Jamaica or Yorkshire.
And talking to his board and to investors about the results.
I think it's marvellous.
No, but I think you can see that also his show is always very big and very rich. I mean, he has the company has the wealth to put up the shows, but it always looks and sounds so spontaneous. People seem happy when they sit at Burberry's. It puts
you mean the audience?
Yeah, the audience.
Oh, yes.
I've been to 1 or 2 shows, and it's huge, and yet you never feel like, oh, I have to line, or oh, it's long. You never really wait. You're never cold or hot, or I don't know, maybe hot sometimes in summer in the tent. But I mean, it's fabulous.
Someone years ago, yes, of course. Someone years ago said of Bergdorf's, I think it was, no harm could possibly, this is in the 30s, no harm could possibly come to you under Bergdorf's roof. Of course, it isn't true now, but it's a lovely thing to have that sense of security. Well, I think once we get into that huge erection that he puts up by the Albert Hall, then we feel nothing can go wrong, because they are incredibly efficient at anticipating everything that could possibly go wrong, so nothing ever does.
That's why it's
and his sort of inner court, 1 or 2 of whom I know very well, are marvellous. They're also very discreet. No one will ever tell you anything.
And they're very loyal.
It's only Christopher who will tell you.
But people stay, and you know when people stay that long with you, it means you're a good boss.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Shall we have a look at the show?
I was thinking perhaps people would like to know
what we're talking about.
What we're actually talking about.
Well, there was an introduction on the man who does it all.
But he's a very special man, I think we can say that. And he's a lovely man, actually.
So do you want to tell us how was the atmosphere with the live music and?
Oh, well, she was fabulous, and she sang all the songs that I know.
Yeah, well, me too, because we're not that young. That's the problem.
It was lovely.
But also, I thought I was listening especially to this Carole King song, which is one of my old favorites.
Of course.
Sometimes it was slightly out of tune, which I think it makes it even more real. Yes. It's live, and it's how it's happened, Yes.
Because he's obsessed with music. Yeah. He adores what we used to call popular music. Look at all those people. Look how many people they pack.
You will see yourself a lot.
I'm not sure.
I saw you a lot. So tell me the atmosphere in there.
Well, I'll tell you, the atmosphere is, it's almost like a cocktail party. Everyone's talking with their friends. I get very cross with all the models coming in, but he likes that.
The models like in the audience.
Yes,
the Caras and the Jordan.
Oh, actually, I don't get cross with them. I get cross with the paparazzi.
Yeah.
I mean, they push little old ladies aside.
I know.
You know, little old men like me.
Well, there are not many little old ladies there.
No, but there are an awful lot of ladies in very uncertain heels, you know,
yes.
who have to suddenly grab your arm. They're animals, and they're forced to be animals because we want them to be. Anyhow, let's talk about the clothes.
Before we talk about the clothes, I need to talk about those boots.
Right.
Because I've never seen patchwork suede boots in my entire life, and I think they are absolutely fabulous.
Oh, they.
One thing
chic.
I will buy next season is those boots.
So
hopefully
chic.
they're not £5,000.
They're
amazing.
They could be, I'm not sure.
So patchwork, prints, quilt, mirrored fabrics. So tell me, boho chic, summer of love.
These shoes will go everywhere with the little tassels at the end.
Yes.
They'll be copied everywhere because they're easy to
What
copy.
about that dress? I can already see it in Topshop.
Yes, of course.
Without the mirror and without the
Without
same
the
fabric.
mirror,
But that's probably the most copyable.
Oh, there are lots
show
of, look at
ever.
this. This is such a fun, chic little dress.
So did you like the
Oh, I
collection?
loved it. I loved the cape story. I loved the fringe story. There it is. We saw it first on a man.
There was a
goes
lot
through
of fringe.
A lot of fringe.
Everywhere.
He's had fringe for a couple of seasons now, but now he's obviously committed to it.
Well, he had the print, the mirrored fabric and the fringe in the men's show.
Yes.
2 months ago.
Yes, indeed.
And so that's really like a fil rouge, a
Yes.
continuation.
Yes.
I
And of course he sent, let me just say this.
No, go ahead.
He sent at least one man down with the mirrored pants and scarf, just to remind us that he's, you know, got a continual sort of look, a look that is consistent.
One thing that I thought was absolutely marvelous here was the review, the updating of the trench, because no matter how many times you say the trench is forever, there is such an updating here of the trench that becomes a coat and it's printed and it's still very Burberry because it's outerwear. However, one thing that makes me cringe is the empire boho hippie dresses, because let me tell you this story. When I moved to England 10 years ago, well, I knew about London and everything, but I thought that all these girls, they were wearing the Sienna Miller boho chic look, and I hated it. I just can't stand it.
Okay.
I mean that.
We'll accept
and,
that.
And I said, I'm not going to wear that because that's all over the press, and I never did. And now, thanks to Christopher, it's going to be back with a vengeance.
Yes, absolutely.
And I just can't do that. But those coats are amazing.
Well, what I think is lovely is, you see, he doesn't really move very far in coats or Macintoshes from the original Burberry shape. That is the trademark, and he knows it. And people, certainly in Asia, who have got the Macintosh, want the coats, but they want to still say Burberry, you know, they've got to have a clear, but he's too sophisticated to make it look Burberry to everybody. It's just really to a certain sort of customer, really. But that's what it's all about, this little wasted thing.
Yeah, it's true, and that's probably one of his signatures, because if you notice, for a few seasons now, there's not been a check inside, you know, the Burberry sign, but like that poncho that we've seen here, last season, he sent out the models with their initials on it, and then he gave it to most of his celebrity friends with their initials, so you could see all the Olivia Palermo. That poncho has been one of the most copied thing of the season.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's as if now the new Burberry thing is not the check or the trench, but it's the poncho and the fringe.
Well,
he reinvented the poncho. He was the first one.
Yes, I suppose he might have. Yes, but no, I don't think it'll ever replace the Burberry Macintosh. I think that throughout the world, that is the garment that people who are going to be Burberry buyers start with.
Also the Prorsum people, which is a different audience.
Yes.
That coat that we're just seeing it, I think our audience is seeing it. It's spectacular.
There have been a lot of marvelous...
It's funny, it's not my favorite collection ever, but there are probably my favorite pieces in it ever, if you see what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Some of those looks are my favorite of the season. The collection overall, it's probably a little bit too hippie, flower, sand, and you know, too many fringes for my taste.
Well, right. Yes, you're not a fringe lady, I think.
No, not really.
But no, I don't have favorite collections really. That's because I'm a man, and after 30 odd years in fashion, I've never once felt the need to put on a woman's dress. I don't know what it feels like to wear these clothes.
I'm very happy about that. But what about favorite collection as a fashion historian and critic? And don't you have one collection that you like?
I have favorite designers, but
Galliano is
not
one
really.
of your favorites, right?
Yes.
I think John is one of your favorite designers.
Yes.
So what do you think about the other time we were here together? We said it's Marc Jacobs a genius. What do you think? Where do you put Christopher Bailey in this category of designers?
Well, it's very difficult because you have to say what you think genius is, and genius really encompasses making a lot of mistakes. Geniuses get things wrong because they take chances. I think that Christopher is too aware of the vast number of people who depend upon him all over the world to take any serious chances. And why should he? He's got an image that people like, he's got a technique with the way he puts clothes together that people want. Why mess it up by trying to be... Anyhow, it's either in your spirit or you're not, and he is a cautious, sensible, upright, downright, forthright Yorkshireman.
That's a fantastic way of putting it.
That's what he is.
Do you think that, you know, we always say there is a pyramid, and what is on the top of the pyramid is not usually what sells the most, but it's what attracts, you know,
yes,
the big sale.
Yes.
But when I look at this show, which I think it's at the same time very rich, because, you know, those materials and the textures, everything is very important, so not commercial in their way, but commercial in the way that it's very wearable and very desirable. Do you think that applies to it? Because I think people will buy this directly. They don't need to see this and then buy something else in the Burberry universe. I just want that coat.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly. And I think, you see, if by some aberration he could say at the end of a show, ladies, come and choose the coat you want, they would all disappear. Now, an enormous number of clothes, particularly the ones we see in Paris, I mean, Comme des Garçons, who I think is a genius, but no one can wear them in public, you know. Every one of those could go straight out into London and look lovely, and people would look and think,
this doesn't even need editing. Sometimes everything is wearable, but then, you know, it has to be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter or a little bit...
No, they're just...
This is just... Yeah. But that he also, because, you know, you can buy straight from the...
Of course,
the live stream.
Exactly.
So,
but the other thing is, of course, he gives you a wide variety. You know, there have been short skirts, there have been longer skirts, there have been fringe skirts, there have been plain skirts, there have been beautiful floral patterns, you know, in lovely sort of what we call blackberry colours, berry colours, you know, and there's been that beautiful green, it used to be called eau de Nile. I don't know what it's called now.
The green? Eau de Nile?
Eau de Nile.
So the Nile is that colour,
water of the Nile.
Yes. I think the colours in this show are probably the best of the season.
Got a very subtle eye.
Can you see Cara Delevingne is wearing those boots already?
Yes.
Lucky Cara.
Well,
I think
they make it impossible to refuse, I'm sure, these little ladies. They're pretty good operators, I think.
Yeah, but
see, there's the mirrored scarf for the man.
I think the accessories are absolutely genius. The shows will sell like hotcakes. Those bag clutches and the fringe bags will be, they might become the hit bag of the season, you know.
They could. We've got to see what Paris will produce and what Milan.
You didn't even mention Milan. Oh, you do mention.
Oh yeah, I'm going to Milan tomorrow.
No, I thought you were just jumping.
Oh
mentioning Milan.
No. I was thinking of Paris. No, I'm not being anti-Italian. I live there.
No, but I want to use our last 5 minutes for you to tell me what do you expect from Milan and Paris and
I expect more excitement from Paris than Milan this time. Oh look, you see, this is something. That's a very bold statement. Now that might not go into production.
That's going to be very expensive. The cape.
It'll be very expensive.
The suede fringed cape.
Anyhow, what am I expecting? Well, I'm expecting a high level of sophistication in both countries. You know, Milan and Paris know how to make clothes.
But like, for instance, New York was black, really back to black. London is an explosion of colors. What's
colour.
Miuccia going to do? Where will she stand?
There's a fortune waiting for the person who can predict what Miuccia Prada's
You're
going
right.
to do.
You're right.
She will do something which no one's ever thought of before, and we'll all think, how perfect. That's exactly what we need now. She is a total genius.
I agree.
If we're doing one
She's
from
up
Milan,
with the genius.
I'd love to talk about her. If we're doing
well, let's ask Nikki
Madam Chair.
But what do you think about Alessandro Michele Gucci? What do you expect? I mean, that's something that people will want to see.
To be honest, Gucci, my head it goes round and round and round. Let's just say, I'll be grateful for anything we get that I can actually write about now.
Okay, but we have to give them a chance. We
sure,
have to give him a chance.
Always, yes. I'm not saying he's not the right person or anything. I'm just saying I don't want to worry too much about that until I'm sitting there.
That's an example where maybe the CEO and the creative director were getting along a little bit too well.
Well. You're not going to draw me on that. I'm going to Milan.
I wanted a statement from you, please. I was provoking you.
Not the day before I go to Milan.
Well, and on these final notes of this beautiful show,
let's just wait and see him as he comes out. I love him. He does,
and you know the first thing he does?
He's like a schoolboy.
He applauds to her.
That's right. He came in and applauded her. Yes.
Oh no, there's still this one on the lineup, the final lineup.
Ah, right, yes.
Where you can see Mario and Kate singing. Yes. You will see them singing along.
This is one of the great songs of all time. Look, yes. Fabulous. That tells you that people have enjoyed the show. They're not thinking, oh, let's get out and go to the next one.
I don't do it that much anymore, but you run everywhere and there is traffic and you stand and you wait and you pushed around. To be given a nice, easy moment, like sometimes you're taken outside of town late at night and you're made to wait and it's cold, and then beautiful or not beautiful doesn't matter, but it's uncomfortable and it's dark, and why? I'm trying to work here. I'm trying to love you. Make me love you. Do you agree? And I think Christopher is the master of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never, in a bitchy world, let's be honest, fashion is a bitchy world, no one has ever said anything nasty about Christopher, to me.
No, to me...
Ever.
Neither. I never heard anything bad about him.
So that's, you see, that's why he's wholesome. Do you know that, the meaning of the word?
No, I'm sorry.
Wholesome means he's without malice, he's charming, he's easygoing, he thinks nice things and everything. He's real. I think he's wholesome, and these clothes are. I live in the country for some of the year, in Monmouthshire, which is quite a remote county. I could take those clothes down Monmouth High Street.
And the famous wives of the peasant that like Nick's work will love it?
Exactly.
Oh, good.
Exactly. They wouldn't be too startled,
No. I think they would love it.
If we took Alexander McQueen down there,
Empire West Bohemian, very English dresses that I don't like.
Quite a lot of ladies in the country have quite large stomachs, and these dresses are very kind, very kind.
That's true. Now you will see him coming out.
Let's wait and see him come in and applaud her.
I think she's got the boots as well. I need to become friends with him. Look at the boots on Caras. She certainly will sell many of them just by wearing them.
Here he is.
See,
too far away.
He makes
Look at him. Look at him. He's
doesn't
not
forget
changed
to applaud
ever
her
since I've known him. His hair's always been like that, and he really hasn't changed at all. He's not put on an ounce of weight, of course. It's exactly the same figure as he had 15
Can you give me
a
statement as a conclusion? I need you to conclude.
Well, I think that's I think that hits all the marks. It's commercial, it's attractive, it's wearable, and I just thought it was lovely.
And it's beautiful.
And it reflects him.
And it's beautiful.
Of course, it's beautiful, that goes without saying. It reflects him.
Good. So you have a good trip to Milan, and I'll see you on our next head-to-head.
Excellent. I look forward to it.